Out, even if it's just a basic, sort of squiggly line, different things. So.
Change direction over.
Yeah, if we put that by that obstacle over there, then we need to write this one here about the create your own pathway, and then we need like an end point, don't we? We have a finish point.
You've got about 2 minutes left. Do we think we're going to be ready for that? No loud no, so 2 minutes and we get the next envelope.
So we're going with the three main
So you're going with those
books
three. You've got your characters, you've got your instructions.
Yeah.
You're
Got
not
the
far
equipment.
from being ready to go.
Yeah.
They can do explore the different levels with their like knees, crawling, tiptoes.
With the partner helping them.
Yeah.
Because of the social side of it.
Yeah, so the social part is the fact that they're working in partners and then it can extend it further with the blindfold.
Yeah.
And it's also developing communication skills as well.
Yeah, because they need to give them clear instructions so they don't fall
I
off.
think we need to put somewhere that you need to support your partner, hold their hands.
So the blindfold activity was about developing social skills.
Okay, now you're coming onto another table, so step.
Down,
No, you need to go
forward.
So it's like it's a small one.
Right, that's it.
That's it, you're on it. Now you need
Twist.
to turn right. Okay, now you're about to walk onto a bench that's on the same level.
That's it, keep going. Bring your right
Slightly, that's it.
foot, that's it. Keep going. That's it.
Okay, now turn
Stop,
right.
turn right. Foot up, right foot up. Stop. Bring this foot towards you as well. That's it.
And then
Step down.
onto the soft play further, that's it. There we go. Okay, then
And
step
step down
onto the
again.
bench. And then get up.
One person from each group needs to come and get their next challenge. Read it, weep, cry, talk to your group, and then you've got about 10 minutes to try the rest of it.
The second envelope is more setting the second task where actually they finish their own activity, but they have to go around and critique everyone else's. So they have to think, well, do I understand what they've asked me to do? Are their instructions clear enough? But also, would children understand these? Or would the children with particular needs understand these written instructions or these pictures?
Okay, then it says change direction. Which way are we going? That way. So you could go backwards. Then go round the back. Then you make your own path. Here you go. You've got your little thing.
One thing from the activity, you need to know, the children need to know the vocabulary, like up and down and turn left, turn right.
Yeah,
before.
so they can help each other.
Yeah, because communication for this activity is the probably key learning to it.
How would a monkey go along that? Because the snake didn't work overly well, but how might the monkey use that one?
How would a monkey do it?
You've got roots going around, but actually the instruments, you almost want to be there to actually play it and get that stimulus themselves. Otherwise you're relying on one of the children doing that as well. So you've probably got the more difficult task. It's not that you can't include every child, but there are going to be some bits that actually it's very difficult too.
Told you not to pick that middle envelope.
At the end of the session, we tend to sit down and basically review what we do. So we'll look at what they found easy about the task, but also what were some of the challenges. And it's probably more important to focus on what the challenges are, because we need them to be thinking about, well, if they are actually doing these kind of tasks with children, how are they going to overcome these problems?
Once we've got our starting point, once we realise we're going to use the book as a sort of starting point for the learning intention, everything just fell into place.
So if you get a good stimulus, things just roll on from each other, and books are really, really good for actually getting ideas from. What other things did you find easy and straightforward?
Setting our activity wasn't too hard. It was just trying to develop it more towards what our focus was. Because we did it and then suddenly realised it's got to be put towards ours was social skills, and we'd made it and then thought, actually, how do we adapt this now towards a social skills kind of theme? So,
and that's the nub of it, really, in the terms that a lot of the plans that you'll get, or a lot of the things you'll think, we're doing a particular activity, it's really easy to say, I can think of 100 different ways of doing that, really interesting, engaging, fun. But then you think, actually, hang on, I've got these children I need to think about, I've got this that I need to think about, how am I going to do that? That's what makes it a bit more difficult. And it's sometimes you need to actually almost forget the activity and say, well, here are the children I'm working with, what do they need to be able to achieve this learning outcome? And then the activity almost, hopefully, will create itself, rather than saying, here's my great fun activity, I've got to. Flipping around, actually starting with the children in the first place. What were the other difficulties about that task?
Just so that, obviously not doing everything in command style, so that children know what they're doing without you having to give them instructions all the time.
We're very reliant on the fact that we can use our voice to tell children what to do. And the challenge was today, could you do it without yourself, really? Can you actually get the student to do things independently? And for some of you, you came up with pictures, diagrams, arrows, drawings, a whole world of hieroglyphics in some cases. Did you find those useful when you were going around trying other people's activities? Yeah. Some of it, yes. Other bits, it's a bit confusing. I think the jungle animal, the first group I was with, we said, lovely pictures of animals, we're going on a jungle journey. Where? So we actually drew a map, because there's some lovely equipment out. We actually drew a map and said, these hill bits are the mountains, and this is a bridge. So it added to the story, and then we felt it made a bit more sense. Because otherwise, you're sort of, well, I can see the picture, I can be a penguin, or Jenny can be a penguin, but where am I going to be a penguin is a difficulty. What other problems did you come up sort of specific to your areas you're working on?
With like our one, you said you didn't really know where to go. We didn't want the children to have a set path, so we didn't want them to act like a snake just on the floor. Like they could have acted like a snake on the bar. So we didn't want to kind of make a set route for them. We wanted them to make it up themselves. So then they were being creative, and also then you haven't got that worry of they've missed the start point. I think when the groups first came over, it was, they've missed where we've written start. They've started somewhere else. So it is the problem. If you're not there to give those instructions, you've got to really think about what you're doing. The group that did the book activity said something interesting. They said that, we were thinking, if some of these children are native Spanish speakers or things like that, I can't speak Spanish, I can't translate it here and now. So actually a lot of that preparatory work is going to have to happen before you come in. And I think that's the key thing with, if you really want your PE teaching to be good and inclusive, you've got to be prepared to put the preparation in. Because in other subjects you do, in English and maths you do, but in PE quite often teachers say, well, was Sarah's work, your project's going to be, they pick up the lesson plan and say, here's what I do. You can't then go back during the session and say, well, but hang on, what about these children that I need to support? So it gives you a bit more evidence for your line of thinking there as well, because you've practically tried, and it takes time to do those kind of things. Ben, Michelle, I know you found yours tough. You found yours tough. Tell us a bit about that.
We had instruments, and they were...
We had the idea, we didn't know how to use the instruments to help our idea along. Like, we knew what we wanted to do and how we wanted them to do it, but then it was, how do we put the instruments into those ideas? Because if we could tell them what to do and what to use them for, but we wanted them to do discovery, and then if we just left them to it, we might have 10 kids banging, bongos or something, and then it just all be crazy.
And that, that's another key thing. That's, I made you have instruments. Well, you chose them, but I made them come into it. Ben chose it. But sometimes You might have a new piece of equipment or a piece of equipment that you think, actually, I really want to use that, but actually it doesn't work because of the children you're teaching or the style of teaching. So sometimes you do actually say, yeah, we've got some, but actually that's not going to work in this setting. And sometimes that does happen in schools where you get, you know, your different vouchers and things like that to actually say, oh, we've got some great new equipment, let's use them. And then once the novelty wears off, you realise actually it's more trouble than it's worth. Why don't we get different equipment that children can actually use?
So when we were doing that activity, like we read what we were supposed to do, and then incorporating the instrument in it seemed to detract from the PE of it. It seemed to like be all a bit mixed up.
Definitely. That's the problem that we had. It's like, what are we going to do with the instruments? We don't want, and as soon as children see instruments, the first thing they're going to do is so we didn't want that to happen. And then it's all about what are the instruments used for? Are they going to be used to give the children directions? Are they just going to be playing the instruments so that other children can dance along with it? And yeah, decisions.
It felt like we were just using them for the sake of using them in the end.
Yeah.
Because we had them. We had an idea, but we just had a box of instruments to use. We just felt like we were using them because we had to in a way.
The activity could have easily been done without instruments, with even just music or even no music. So,
and it's, you know, in PE it's very easy to look, you know, to be blown away by the space, by the different things that are available. But the key things you've got to stick to are who are the children you're working with, and what do you actually want them to learn. And if you stick to those two, you won't get carried away with, well, this looks fun, this looks colourful, this looks bright, this looks new. You can actually say, well, actually, I don't need instruments. We can learn this, these children can get it a better way.
The other thing we had was, what are we assessing? Are you assessing the skill, or are you assessing the concept? So, yeah, we just fought back and forth between that activity.
So not a straightforward one. That's fine. Okay, we're coming to the end. I think it's been quite worthwhile. Hopefully you've got a bit out of it, and it'll help you think about when you're in school, how are you going to overcome some of these problems? And obviously you're not going to just be given 15 minutes to do it, and you're not going to have some idiot coming up with an envelope halfway through saying, there you are, there's another challenge. But you might have someone coming up and saying, you're in the middle of your planning, I need you to come and have a meeting. Or someone's fallen over in the playground, can you come and deal with this? So you do need to be able to deal with things as you go along as well. Right, before we go, we're going to have to pack up. Make sure it's all neat and tidy, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Hopefully the students will take away some positives, but also some things to think about, because it shouldn't all be about them leaving thinking, I've learned something to do. It should be about them thinking, well, actually, perhaps I've found a problem that I need to go away and read some more about, or try some different things of. So hopefully they will go away understanding a few of the problems of including different people, but also going away thinking, actually, I need to do a bit more reading, I need to keep learning, so they don't think they're the finished article.